Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the 1983 World Championship team.
The pitch, line drive, Ripken catches it at shortstop, and the Orioles are the champions of the world. Dempsey is out to hug McGregor.
Kind of proud of the fact that in '83 I threw the first and last pitch of the World Series.
We knew we could win. We weren't worried about it. We were calm, we were having fun, loose.
Rick Dempsey has just been named the unanimous most valuable player in this, the 1983 World Series.
Oriole Magic was the most amazing time that I think Oriole fans ever had. And those fans were just the best fans any team had ever had in any city.
Winning a World Series requires the right combination of skilled players and a little bit of magic. The 1983 Orioles had both. Orioles Magic was officially born during the 1979 season.
A two-run homer. The Orioles win the ball game, 6-5.
But it was during the 1983 season that it attracted a nationwide audience with its finest act.
In the air to center field and deep. They may be looking at a home run right here. And they are.
There's a little of that excitement you were talking about, especially for the hometown fans, huh?
Magicians by the names of McGregor and Boddicker, Lowenstein and Reddicky, Bumry and Singleton, Cal and Eddie. And Rick Dempsey, who surprised everyone by pulling a proverbial rabbit out of a hat to become the Orioles MVP.
And we just saw one of the strongest arms in baseball behind the plate in Rick Dempsey's throw.
40 years later, in a new ballpark and in front of a new generation of fans, the magic was reignited by the 2023 Baltimore Orioles.
There's a little thing that folks have talked about for decades here called Orioles Magic. Some folks will say the magic is back in Baltimore tonight. The more optimistic-minded of us, they say the magic never really left. Just needed the right people to start waving the wands. Those are the right people. Those are the champions of the American League East.
Two generations of players connected by Orioles magic. One group already inscribed in the record books, and the other intending to join them there. In August 2023, Orioles fans packed Camden Yards to celebrate the World Series team of 1983. And over the next hour, we'll look back at that special day. Orioles fans, thank you for joining us today as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the 1983 World Championship team. The 1983 season was simply magical. The 1983 Orioles are remembered for a roster with versatile talent and veteran leadership, a team that embodied the meaning of the Oriole way, taking care of business and handling adversity with professionalism. Their persistence to excellence resulted in the ultimate success, bringing out immense amount of pride in our community and inspiring a city that values perseverance and work ethic. It was Orioles magic at its finest. But all magicians need time to perfect their craft. In 1979, the Orioles led the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-1 in the World Series, but went on to lose in Game 7.
4-1 Pirates. Pop Stargill and company have done it. Only the fifth team in World Series history to come back after being down 3-1.
Then in 1982, the Orioles found themselves in a win-and-you're-in scenario in the final game of the season, but lost the game to the Milwaukee Brewers.
And this, the final out. After losing to the Orioles 5 straight times, the Milwaukee Brewers were Eastern Division champs. But no one would begrudge them their title, just as no one would begrudge Baltimore.
The amazing thing, when we came back and tied Milwaukee in 82, and we ended up losing that last game, we were pretty down. And I remember him coming to the clubhouse and said, "You guys got to come out. They won't leave." The fans wouldn't leave. Standing ovation. Wow, we just lost, and they're giving, and they wouldn't leave. That kind of pumps you up a little bit, and pushes you for next year.
Before the 1983 Orioles took the field at Camden Yards, they joined Scott Garceau to talk about their championship, which they said wouldn't have happened without their failures in 1979 and 1982.
What was the difference between your championship team in 83 and those real good teams of 79 and 82 that came so close?
It's a very simple answer. You guys should be able to appreciate it because you guys were part of it. In 1979, we lost, obviously.
I remember that.
After being up 3-1, we felt terrible. And we had a little manager by the name of Earl Weaver. And the day of the parade, or when we lost that game, we didn't want to go to that parade when they had it scheduled. And Earl said, "You're going to that damn parade." So sure enough, reluctantly, we get on the buses down at the Engineers Club. I think we started there, and then we got in our individual vehicles and drove through downtown Baltimore. And you guys were there in droves. And that's what I remember about 79, and that we lost. We didn't want to go, but you guys got us rejuvenated because you showed your appreciation for us, even though we lost. And that's my most memorable moment as an Oriole. In 1983, hey, it speaks for itself. We were world champions. Guess what? You guys were there again. But you were supposed to have been there in 83 because we won. 79, we lost. We did not expect it. You guys played a major role in our success during my career. And in those two occasions, you guys were there for us again.
That stretch from 79 to 83, we had a lot of the same players in the 79 team. 80 was just a weird year with, you win 100 games, no wild card, 100 to the Yankees, and no playoffs. And then 81 was a strike year, and 82 we fought back and came that close. And then I think we were so close and just could not get over that hump. And 83 was that magical year. And
I think it was set up because of the last game in 82 because we lost. And I think we had more injury problems in 83, but it still wasn't going to stop us. Some of the other previous guys have talked about the atmosphere of the Oriole organization. And I'll go back to when I got traded here from Montreal. And my first day in spring training in Miami, I walk in the clubhouse, and the first person I saw was Brooks Robinson. And Brooks walked up to me, and he put his arm around me. He said, "Ken, welcome to the team. You don't have to do it by yourself here. We have a lot of good players here." Well, I walked into the clubhouse, and I looked around, and there's Jim, and there's Mark Belanger, there's Don Baylor, there's Paul Blair, there's Tommy Davis, Elrod, and I began to think, he's right. There's a lot of good players here. This is some place you want to stay. The team was very tight. I remember Mark and Dee Belanger threw a party for the team during spring training, and my mom was with us down in spring training that year, and she came with us to the party, Scott. And my mom was a good judge of character. And after we were going home in the car, she said, "This is a pretty tight group." She says, you probably want to stay here for a while. And
still here.
Yeah, still here. 10 years with the Orioles, and during my 10 years here, I got to play with great players like Cakes and Rick, and we won more games than any other team in those 10 years. And I really found out what team baseball was like.
Well said, Kenny.
Coming up, hear from Tippy Martinez.
I said, "What are the chances of me picking off 3 guys
Al Bunbury,
And that's my most memorable moment as an Oriole.
Scott McGregor,
And they're making magic again in this place, and that's what we did.
Rick Dempsey,
Oriole Magic was the most amazing time that I think Oriole fans ever had.
Mike Boddicker,
Once I got out there and got on the mound, I'm where I belong. I can relax and just do my job.
and more as the 1983 Orioles reflect on the magic of the World Series and share their perspectives on the future of baseball in Baltimore. But coming up, the 3 pickoffs heard round the league.
I didn't want to go back out there. I mean, the defense that we had out there was very slim.
Another throw to first, and they got him! Holy cow! Oh my goodness!
The situation became iconic because we did win the game and then went on to win the World Series. But had we lost, I think most of it would have been forgotten.
That's next. Please welcome Len Cicada and Orioles Hall of Famer Tippy Martinez.
Collins steps in against Tippy. Throw to first. They got the runner hung up between first and second. Murray chases him down and now puts on the tag.
The unusual aspect of it was the fact that we had so many guys playing out of position because me catching and the other guys playing positions that they never played, the chances of us going on to win that game were not good.
One out, a runner at first. Another throw to first. They got him. They got him!
The only guy I did recognize was Eddie Murray at first base, obviously.
Another throw to first, and they got him! Holy cow! Oh, my goodness! Oh!
The situation became iconic because we did win the game and then went on to win the World Series. But had we lost, I think most of it would have been forgotten.
Box scores convey statistics, but they can't capture the meaning of the moment. And on August 24th, 1983, Tippy Martinez made history with infielder Len Cicada behind the plate and a slew of out-of-position players behind him. Together, they picked off 3 Blue Jays in 1 inning, and soon after, they were on their way to picking off the top spot in the American League East.
Jimmy Williams was a coach, third base coach for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he told me this years later when he was managing the Astros. He said, Gary, I knew you guys were going to win in '83.
We were struggling at that time. Toronto was ahead of us, and then we came back to beat them the next night. And then I think that's what gave us the impetus to win, was we just kept on going with everything going our way. So I think that game had a big impact, but I think it was bound to happen. We had such a good team that we were going to win. That's the best team I've ever played on, and I think it exemplified, not having the greatest talent, but having the greatest character and players that really wanted to win more than anything else.
Let's go back to August 24th. Your memories, Lenny's memories of a night no Oriole fan will ever forget.
Well, again, Rick was not hitting. He wasn't hitting, and we ran out of players, and I had Renicky playing third base, and I'm going, third base? And then I look at second base, and I had Lowenstein playing second base. And I had Cicada. Cicada came up to me, and we're having a meeting, and after Stoddard went back to the dugout, and Lenny says, what do you want to do? I said, I just hope he can catch his fastball. And he goes, I've been practicing, so I'm going to be okay. Well, I can't throw my curveball. So for some reason, one thing led to another. I didn't pick off 3 guys or walk 3 guys. I want to let you know that. I didn't walk 3 guys in a row. When I first came in the game, there was a guy on first base. I picked him off. The next guy I walked. That's the guy I walked.
Intentionally?
No, not really. So he was on first base, and I picked him off. And then the last guy that was hit to Lowenstein was at the range of a dime. And so I'm still thinking, but because Lenny is like, he wants to throw the guy out at second. Uh-huh. And I said, no chance. It's not going to happen. And I said, what are the chances of me picking off 3 guys? And so a little light bulb came on because we always practice that on the little field. And I didn't make a balk move, I don't think. But anyway, it was one of my better moves, and I picked the last guy on. The crowd went crazy, and of course, my man here, he's getting a base hit, and he hits a 2-run homer, and thank you for the win.
Yeah. Somebody said you kept throwing to first because Eddie was the only guy you recognized on the infield.
That is true. That is true.
To Murray once. Martinez to Murray twice. Martinez to Murray 3 times.
Lenny, give us your memories, because your heart got to be pounding. You're back behind the plate, not your usual position.
Well, the whole thing about it was terror. I know when I scored, Altobelli said, "You're catching," and I went, "Really?" So I didn't even have equipment. I had to go in the clubhouse, find stuff, which is Dempsey's old glove, all his old equipment. I had to put a cup in because I didn't wear a cup when I played the infield. And I remember the first at bat was Cliff Johnson, and I said to myself, "Don't get hit by his backswing." Yeah. So I was way back, and they had umpires with pillows then, and it was Russ Getz, and he kept pushing me forward. I go, "I'm not going there." And first pitch was so loud in my ear because Cliff hit it over the bullpen, and the thing I said to myself was, "Oh, good, the game's over." But then, he picked the 3 guys off, and then we just happened to come back, and it was the weirdest game I've ever played in my life because I had never caught before, not since Little League, and the only thing I could think of was not getting hit by a backswing and don't go chase the balls that I miss when, there's runners on base, and it just happened to work out just through sheer panic.
But Len, the part of the story that some forget because that was so unusual is then you get to hit the game-winning homer in the 10th inning.
After only catching 1 inning, my legs were shaking already. They were like weak. And so I got in the box, I go, "Please let me get a hit so the game's over." And then when I went out, I just thought, I didn't think we won. I just said, "I don't have to catch anymore." And that was just great because that game was weird. I mean, there was nobody watching. And years later, I don't know how many people came up to me and said, "I was at that game." I said, "No, you weren't," because there was nobody there. Because they thought we were going to lose.
The Orioles went on to win 11 of their next 12 games and finish first in the AL East with 98 wins to advance to the World Series and have to defeat the AL West winners, the 99-win Chicago White Sox, in the American League Championship Series. And they did it with the help of a newly acquired Tito Landrum, who broke open a scoreless Game 4 with a surprising 10th inning home run and sent the Orioles to the World Series.
Wait a minute.
Oh, my goodness.
Hold on to this one.
I believe
Get out of here. Ball.
Deck.
Home run, Tito Landrum.
Oh, and did he miss it?
It just cut a hole in the wind, and Landrum has scored the first run of the ball game here in the 10th inning.
So it's a 0-0 game in the 10th inning. The Orioles are ahead 2-1. If the White Sox win it, they got their ace going back in Game 5. And I look, Britt Burns threw 150 pitches in that game, and nobody touched him until you launched. Take us back, and your thoughts on that whole setup.
I'm in right field, and T-Bone makes a catch in right center. Unbelievable. He's running he looked like a wide receiver when he caught the ball. In the air, comes down, and then hits the wall. Another play, Reinicke's in left field. That was one of the greatest catches I'd seen from a guy running to catch a ball. If that ball gets past him, it's a whole new game. And by the way, he throws another guy out, I believe, at home plate, too. So I finally sit down beside Ralph Rowe, and I said, "Ralph, can you just give me some perspective? What do you think I'm doing wrong?" He says, "You're made to hit the ball between left center and right center. That's all I want you to do. Just go up there with that thought in mind." And after Eddie didn't hit a ball out in that gale, I didn't know. The bat boy could have hit a ball before that everybody thought. But it was one of those moments where you hit the ball and you realize it, and it's just a memory that will never, ever leave me.
When Tito hit that home run, I can remember Joe coming up to me and he says, "Hey, can you give me one more inning?" And I'm just looking at him, and I kind of look around, and I'm having second thoughts, and I said, "Well, who's coming up?" He said, "Well, Carlton Fisk is the first hitter." I said, "Who?" Carlton owns me. I mean, he just rakes me. And so I said, okay, I'll go back out there. Carlton hit the ball so far and so high, and the wind brought the ball back to Beat. And I'm going, this ball's going out. And then I saw that wind just kind of bring it back, and I saw Beat camping underneath, and I said, oh, my heart just kind of. The next two guys were not a problem, by the way.
Dempsey picks it up, throws him out, and the ball game is over. And the Baltimore Orioles are the American League champions of 1983.
Coming up.
Once I got out there and got on the mound, I'm going, oh, I'm where I belong. I can relax and just do my job.
The starting rotation looks back on the 1983 postseason. That's next. These three pitchers combined to start 7 of the 9 games in the postseason in 1983. Please welcome back Storm Davis, Orioles Hall of Famers Mike Boddicker and Scott McGregor. '21-year-old Storm Davis and rookie Mike Boddicker joined veteran pitchers Scott McGregor, Dennis Martinez, Mike Flanagan, and Jim Palmer in the 1983 starting rotation.
I couldn't have asked for a better organization. I mean, when you sit down on the bench and you've got Jim Palmer, Mike Flanagan, Scott McGregor, and then Bod and I would talk, and Tippy, and I couldn't have walked into a better situation. Those men took time out of their day to teach me, and it wasn't how they taught me how to be a big league pitcher. They taught us how to win as a big league pitcher, and there's a difference, and I'm forever grateful for those men.
The trio of Davis, McGregor, and Boddicker led the rotation in wins and starts. McGregor led the staff with an 18-7 record and 12 complete games. The 21-year-old Davis transitioned from the bullpen into the rotation and led the team with 125 strikeouts. And Boddicker, the rookie who was called up in May, pitched a complete game shutout in his season debut and went on to lead all of baseball in that category.
I got called up, and I remember going in, and Hank Peters grabbed me and says, don't give up your apartment in Rochester. Gotcha. I know where I'm going here. So I remember the first game. I think I do. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, honestly, but I think I threw a shutout, and then I kept going. I was doing okay, and then Planty got hurt, and then Tippy got hurt, and next thing I know, I think I was 15-7 with a 2-something ERA, and Hank goes, you can give up your apartment.
Yeah. Boddicker's late-game prowess continued into the postseason with complete game shutouts in Game 2 of both the ALCS and World Series. Each time, it evened the series after a Game 1 loss.
I just want to go out there and throw as good as Mac did the game before. What, you lost 2-1? Goes in the World Series, loses 2-1. I mean, you can't do much better than that as a starting pitcher. And that's all I wanted to do. I figured the rest of the guys would pick it up. We were calm. We were collect. I mean, even going into the series, it was like we lost that first game. And they're in there joking, having fun. It's no big deal. We knew we could win. We weren't worried about it. We were calm. We were having fun, loose. Yeah, there was no big deal. So there's really no pressure on me.
Scotty, you had Game 1. That meant a lot, right? When they hand you the ball for Game 1 of the ALCS and the World Series?
Yeah. The only problem was I kept going up against Cy Young Award winners.
Danny Lamar.
And Lamar, and then John Denny, and it was rather interesting to be in that situation. Kind of proud of the fact that in '83 I threw the first and last pitch of the World Series. That's a pretty special honor, you know. But I know we started out 3-8, I think, and we were in Chicago. And Stormy and I, we were on the bus leaving, and Stormy, if you know Storm, he's a football player. And so he gets a little amped up. And he turns to me and goes, "What's wrong with this team?" I said, "Storm, we're cool. It's all right. 3-8's nothing to us. We got this, you know." But it was, it's an honor to have that first game and to keep the team close enough to win. And it's all you can do. And I had a plan. I had to lose the first game of both of them so I could set up the last game so I could win that one, and be here today, still the last guy to throw in a World Series.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, it was. I know, Eddie hits 2 home runs. Demper hits another home run.
MVP Dempsey.
Dempsey.
Yeah, MVP.
Yeah,
MVP.
finally got hot for one game in his career. And Eddie walked by when it was 5-0, about halfway through the game, whatever it was. He goes, "Is that enough?" I go, "Well, you can get more if you want, but I'm good."
So, Scotty, finally, just your thoughts on this band of brothers that gather here today, 40 years later, and what these guys mean to you and what you guys mean as a family.
Well, yeah, like most of us here, you give credit back to the Hank Peters generation and the character development that they didn't just get players, they got players with character, and they got players that knew how to win. So I get traded over with Demper and Tippy, and we come over from the Yankees, and I go to AAA, and here's Eddie Murray comes up to second base, Richie Dower, Kiko, Skaggs, Dennis, and Flanny, and all of us. And we started low, and they brought us up together, and similar to what's happening right now with this team, they're doing the exact same thing. Matter of fact, I see this team almost like us. It's a very similar team, and they're all coming up together, and they're making magic again in this place, and that's what we did, and it's
very, very true. Very true, Scotty.
It's very, very similar.
Coming up.
I told Mike Flanagan, I've never been hot. Singy gets hot, Eddie gets hot, everybody gets hot. I never get hot, And he goes, well, maybe you should work on your swing a little bit.
This Oriole caught 12 of his 24 big league seasons with the Orioles and was the most valuable player of the 1983 World Series, batting .385 with 4 doubles and a home run. Please welcome back Orioles Hall of Famer, Rick Dempsey. Heading into the 1983 World Series, Rick Dempsey was a player known more for his defense.
And we just saw one of the strongest arms in baseball behind the plate in Rick Dempsey's throw.
And ability to fire up a crowd. And a knack for keeping the clubhouse light.
Well, we were in spring training. We were losing like 4, 5, 6 games in a row. And we had a meeting, and we had to get our stuff together before we go north. So I remember as far as when we had to play the Yankees that particular game, and we lost again. So as we're coming into the dugout or clubhouse, everybody's got their head down, and we don't know what to do other than Rick. Rick says, you guys think we're in a country club here? Well, this is not a country club. And he throws his catcher's mitt into his locker room. His tennis racket fell out, his fishing pole fell out. We all looked at that and said, well, yeah, we are at a country club.
But in the 1983 World Series, Dempsey's 5 extra base hits and work behind the plate earned him World Series MVP honors.
Rick Dempsey has just been named the unanimous most valuable player in the 1983 World Series.
This is one series I'll remember for a long time, Reg.
If you could have put money down on who would have been the MVP of the World Series, if you had put any amount of money down on Rick Dempsey being the MVP of the World Series, you could have retired after. Because I remember after the last out, I'm walking up the tunnel, and they had bottles of champagne on either side as we're walking up. And they said, this is for pouring, and this is for drinking. The good stuff was on the right. So as I'm walking up the tunnel, I'm thinking, who's going to be the MVP? And I thought, it's got to be Demper. And I'm you really thought that? Yeah, he made like 1 out the whole World Series.
5 extra base hits?
Yeah, 5. That's still a record. 5 extra base hits and then 5 5-game World Series. And to be honest with you, I couldn't have been happier for any guy on the team. Hard worker. I used to live in California years ago, and we used to work out together, and we used to run in the hills behind his house, and he would just leave me in the dust. And I'm thinking, you know, in the outfield, all you got to do is catch the ball and throw it back. What do I have to run all over the place? You know, I know what.
Longevity.
Yeah,
Longevity,
well, yeah.
that's
But
what
as
it's
a catcher, you need strong legs.
Now, coming up out of the minor leagues, I know you're probably not going to believe this. I was a high average hitter for the Minnesota Twins. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
What was the disconnect when you got that?
Well, I'll tell you, and you might agree with me. I asked my first year in A-ball, the Minnesota wasn't playing me, so I went to the manager. I said, can you send me someplace where I can play? He says, okay, we'll see what we can do. So they sent me to the NYP League, where I ended up being the most valuable player. I led the team in RBIs, and I hit like 298 my first year. Then I went to Instructional League. Jim's not going to want to hear about this, but I ended up hitting 600. I know it sounds funny, but I ended up hitting 600 for 2 months, and one of the games I had was a 4-for-4 game against Jim Palmer.
Oh, no. Jim Palmer, I'm going to give you a chance to defend yourself, first of all. Huh?
Well,
I mean, did he go 4-for-4 off you?
I have no idea.
He remembers everything except that.
Who remembers an instructional league game?
That's true.
It was the last time I got any hits. Come on.
You know, that's the same time when Earl Weaver said I wouldn't give a nickel for Jim Palmer to ever pitch in the big leagues again.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it was the day that you got the 4 hits. You know, I used to always tell him, I said, Demper, what's your lifetime batting average? And he goes, well, I don't know. And I said, all we need you to do, catch the ball, throw the guys out, which, you know, had a great throwing arm. You'll run through the screen for us. You'll block the plate. And just, what's your batting average? He said, well, 229. I said, so anything over 229 is a bonus. Just do the things you can do. He goes, you're calling me a 229 hitter. And I said, but so Demper comes over, and he wants to pitch everybody up and in. Now, Memorial Stadium, great ballpark. Sony, you know, whether you're a Colt fan or an Oriole fan, 309 down the line. If you're going in, you better go in at Memorial Stadium. You know, it's 335 here, so you got a little room, and you got the new wall. I mean, I'd be pitching inside all day long here because you got some room to work with, but at Memorial Stadium you didn't. So you get into about the 7th inning, and back then we used to pitch complete games and throw 130, 40, 50, 60, 70 pitches, whatever it was. But so about the 7th inning, you're exhausted because you're trying to pitch everybody up and in. So I was talking to Mike Flanagan and Ross Grimsley on the bench, and I said, we don't want anything major. We just need a little bit of an injury. And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, man, maybe, you know, get hit in the hand, or, you know, when you're catching a ball off the fingertip. Swear to God, 2 innings later, Demper went like this, breaks his hand. And they're looking at me and they're going, you know, you've jinxed him and all that. I go, just wait and see. So Demper, I think you missed about 3 weeks to a month. You sat there. You know, Dave Skaggs, nobody knew how to pitch to Dave Skaggs. You know, how do you pitch Skaggs? Just throw him a low fastball. He was a low ball hitter. So he could catch, he could throw. Wasn't as good as Rick, but he knew what we did. And that's how Rick learned. He sat there for 3 weeks, and then he became the MVP in the World Series. But the great story about that, it's about a month, we're in early September, and we're sitting on the bench, you know, and Demper's there, and he looks at Mike Flanagan. He goes, you know, Flanagan, I've never been hot for a day. Not a week, not even a month, let alone a half a year. And then about 30 days later, he's the MVP in the World Series.
Next up,
we were together for a long time, and we were winners for a long time.
A winning culture leads to the ultimate prize. There are several factors that go into winning a World Series, and in Baltimore, learning how to win led to an expectation that they would win. It's a lesson that veteran players on the field instilled in the newcomers.
We were together for a long time, and we were winners for a long time, and we believed in ourselves, and that made it so that we could mess around.
I played for the Orioles for almost 20 years, and we had the best winning percentage in baseball over the 20 years. So it kind of tells you, if you played for the Orioles, you knew how to win. And I don't think I ever played on a losing team.
I remember after I came up and made my debut, we went 28-10 to win it all. I remember every game we were down, Singy would walk up and down the dugout laughing, going, "We got them right where we want them. They think they're going to win." And sure enough, there's a 3-run homer by Eddie or Cal or somebody, and Tippy'd come and throw a shutout in 2 innings, not 1, 2, not a batter, 3 innings. It was just one of those things. We never, ever, and I wasn't there the whole year, thought that we were going to lose. It just wasn't going to happen. And when we did, we were shocked.
I mean, we were like family. Our whole team was family. Off days, we'd have picnics and stuff together, go to people's houses. It was just completely, I couldn't imagine that as a big league team, everybody getting along like that, being part of a group that's a lot of guys, between the 25 you got and the other guys getting called up, everybody fit in. And I kind of attribute that for me, to Mac, Palmer, Flanny. I mean, they took every one of us young guys and made us feel like we were a huge part of the team, and we belonged.
In '83, it was like a mission. He said, "Guys, we're close." It's almost like I don't think we said it, but I think we felt it. It's basically now or never, because we have this core group of players with a few additions that we added. And anytime you have a pitching staff like we had, and the solid defense that we had, we knew that we were going to be in every game. As long as we, the Oriole way, you guys have heard that. We didn't beat ourselves. We worked on techniques and mechanics and where to throw the ball. And I remember as an outfielder, one thing that I always remembered is keep that guy who gets a base hit, keep him on first. We can get a double play. Little things like that.
Coming up in '81, I'd been in spring training with these guys, and they kind of took me in. They made me feel comfortable. They made me feel welcome. Came up in '81, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Orioles came in 3rd place. And I remember at the end of the year, these guys were saying, "Hey, we need to play for something. If we can't come in 1st place, we're going to fight for 3rd." And they played hard, and they fought for 3rd. And that just stuck with me about the type of players that I was with. It stuck with me about how this organization cared about winning. When I was in the minor leagues, I didn't understand it at the time, but the Yankees were at every level, A-ball, AA, AAA. And I remember them saying, "Get used to beating them." And I never really understood what that meant until I got called up to the big leagues, and I realized we were in the same division. And so that just stuck with me. It always meant something. And in '82, when I got called up, I was a part of, these guys going to the last game of the season, losing, unfortunately. But what had been instilled in me in the minor leagues, it just kind of stayed within me, and I really, really wanted to be a part of it. And then in 1983, when I made the club, we won the World Series my first year in the major leagues. I didn't think anything was better than that, and that's probably one of my most memorable experiences. I remember hitting my first major league home run. I got a curtain call. I had no idea what a curtain call was. And awesome. When I hit it against the Brewers in the dugout, and these guys are like, "Get out there," and I'm like, "Get out where?" And they're like, "Get out there." So I stood out the dugout, and by the time I looked up, man, the whole crowd you guys went crazy. Yeah. And I tell you what, I think I was more nervous for standing out in front of the dugout than winning the World Series. But in '83, that was something that I don't know. It's just hard to explain when you're a rookie and you're with these kind of players, these kind of people. It speaks a lot. You see a lot of us here still with, family oriented. Yeah. And it was a true family, and that had to be the greatest blessing of my life, being with the '83 Orioles team.
As a center fielder, what did you learn from this old guy? He was a veteran. You're center fielder, B's out there in center. What'd you learn from B?
Let me tell you what he did. When I my first spring training,
You know, he talked to me a little bit, was telling me how to do things in the outfield. In 1983, I was, you know, hoping to make the club, and I had a really, really good spring. And a lot of reporters were coming to me, asking me about taking Al Bunbury's position. And all I ever said was, I just want to make the team. I'm not trying to be, you know, the starting center fielder. Our lockers were by each other. And one day the reporters went away, and he said, come here, Bone. He said, let me tell you something. We're not going to let these guys get in between us. He said, I'm pulling for you more than you could ever imagine. I want you on this team, and we're not going to let these guys pull us apart. And I'm honored to have that kind of team.
That's the guy we know.
Coming up, Hall of Famers Jim Palmer, Cal Ripken, and Eddie Murray round out the 1983 World Series reunion. Next. The Orioles' 1983 team featured 3 would-be Hall of Famers, one just a year shy of retirement, another in the prime of his career, and a third who was just beginning. Orioles fans welcomed them back during the 40-year anniversary celebration. This shortstop played every single game for the first time in his career in 1983 and was the league's most valuable player, hitting .318 with 27 home runs and 102 driven in. And he caught the final out of the World Series and went on to a 21-year career, all right here in Baltimore. Please welcome Hall of Famer number 8, Cal Ripken. This 8-time All-Star was runner-up for the league's Most Valuable Player Award, batting .306 with 33 homers and 111 RBIs. He added 3 more homers in the postseason, including 2 in the final game of the World Series. Orioles Special Advisor and Community Ambassador and Hall of Famer, Eddie Murray. He was the winning pitcher in relief in Game 3 of the 1983 World Series, making him the only pitcher ever to win a World Series game in 3 different decades. He's the winningest pitcher in Orioles history, and he's celebrating his 60th year with the organization. Please welcome Hall of Famer Jim Palmer. Fans, let's hear it one more time for your 1983 World Champion Baltimore Orioles. But we're not done yet. Now I want to ask Orioles Hall of Famer Rick Dempsey to lead us in a cheer. Rick, will you help us spell it out? You still got it, Rick. Fans, as we conclude today's program, we want to recognize these Orioles who gave us our third World Series title. To celebrate that championship with a ceremonial first pitch, please welcome once more Orioles legends and Hall of Famers Jim Palmer, Cal Ripken Jr., and Eddie Murray. And catching them will be 1983 World Series MVP Rick Dempsey, Orioles catcher James McCann, and Orioles pitcher Grayson Rodriguez. Okay, guys, it's your pitch. Once again, we thank all of our guests for joining us today, and I know they, like the rest of us, look forward to the next Orioles championship. Thank you, and let's play ball.